Here's a short film about how to prepare for your English 3 exam for Taylor's College. For your exam, some of the words that you might see at the beginning of your essay will be compare, discuss, evaluate, examine, or analyse. These all mean slightly different things. Some of you might recognise evaluate from one of your coursework essays. Discuss means talk about different points of view. Compare suggests that you will have 2 things that you will compare, or 3 things that you will compare. And probably the most common one to see will be analyse. So let's think about that one for a second. Analysis is asking you to consider, what does it suggest? What do the key words imply? What arguments could you use the quote to support? So if you're looking at a specific quote, what ideas does it make you think about? What evidence can it be used for? Think about how reliable the information is. What might the writer's opinion be? So if you're given a quote to discuss, think about who is writing it, why would they say this? Look at where it is from, and what other ideas or quotes could be used to contrast with this one. So look at what you have and think about what other things you know which are similar or go against it. We'll do another thing about this next week in class. So some possible topics for your exam essay: online communication, cultural models and intercultural communication. Gran Torino may come up, your seminar topics, so schools, brains, addiction, war, digital native, digital immigrants, work, your course reader, and the Study Smart resources that we've put up for you. Now remember to think about these in a connected way. So for example, if you're looking at intercultural communication, you might link that to digital immigrants and digital natives. We could look at these as 2 different cultures. Which also might connect to schools, where you have older people often teaching younger people, and what some of the possible problems that may cause. If you had something about cultural models, then you may make connections between that and Gran Torino. If you were discussing online communication, you may get a question about that, asking about that and schools and work, for example. Or looking at technology and addiction, and that might connect with brains, and that might also connect with digital natives and digital immigrants. So there's a lot of crossover between your different topics. Don't think of them completely separately. So for example, one essay topic might be analyse how 21st century technology is changing the ways families communicate and interact. So for this question, I would refer to models of communication. We haven't done those this term, so I wouldn't worry about that too much. But I'd maybe look at the documentary Digital Nation. Priestley's Paradox is very easy. You can have a look at that on your on the course reader, and we'll discuss that in class. Non-verbal communication would come up, because obviously if for technology we're using something like Skype, then we do get that non-verbal communication. But there's a lot that we miss as well, and perhaps that's changed due to how we're using technology. The other obvious connection to make would be digital natives and digital immigrants, and you could perhaps look at addiction in relation to this, or schools as well. Schools are obviously very important for families. So there's lots of stuff we can discuss. Now, for background, I probably put some general information about the development of the internet and different methods of communication. Then maybe talk about generation gaps between parents and children. Perhaps we could look at globalization leading to separation. So like many of you, people moving away, and how they keep in touch with technology. A possible thesis statement could be, although there are more ways to communicate with our families than ever before, we actually communicate with them less in the 21st century than at any other time. So that's one way that we could approach this question. So if this was my thesis, I would first discuss different ways that we can communicate with our families, using some examples, and then I would go and look at how we communicate with them less. So perhaps looking at the communication problems between digital immigrants and digital natives, how young people feel they can't really communicate with the older generation if they can't communicate with them using the kind of technology that they like, such as WhatsApp or Facebook or email, and so on and so forth. We could also look at some studies like we discussed in class earlier about how TV has changed communication. We might bring in tribalization and McLuhan into that discussion. So there's lots we can do with that as a thesis, and our overview would match it step by step. So now you've watched this film, go and do something to help you prepare for the exam. Perhaps try and write that out as a practice question. Think of your own practice exam questions, or go and revise. Do something today that your future self will thank you for, so you can sit in the exam knowing that you've done the best you possibly can to prepare for that grade, that exam. Thanks for watching.